I have a disclaimer. There are going to be some sort of descriptive scenes in this episode. Mom, fair, please beware. Please beware, Mom. Love you though. And also, as you can hear at the beginning of this very episode, I am a little bit under the weather. And there are also parts further along in the episode where you can hear that I am under the weather. I had recorded on 2 separate days. One not sick and one sick. So hopefully just bear with me and stay tuned. Hello. Welcome back everyone to Sour Patch Journals, where I basically tell y'all my crazy ass life, or what it used to be at least, and the lessons I learned from it. So in the last episode, I talked about the daddy issues I have and where they spawn from. Let's just say there was a lot of back and forth who my daddy is, who he's not. And end of the story, I figured that out, not on my own, but I know who to listen to now and not hear the he say she say bullshit, you know? I really want to make my first video me taking this ancestry test that I've had since for like ever. Because I know a lot of people, they want me, I've heard a lot of people say they want to see my podcast in video form. I'm working on it. Definitely gotta upgrade the camera, but it's coming soon. So just bear with me. Anyways, I know a lot of people were asking, what's all of this talk about my blood members had cut me off for a whole year? Like, I keep bringing it up, I keep mentioning it. That's where we come to this episode, which is Virginity Gone, Family Lost. Episode where I I lost my V card and word got out, and the whole blood member, that whole little clan over there, got really upset and just ended up cutting me off for it. So I'm gonna go into depth of what happened and how I lost my V card in the first place, in the aftermath of all of it. So it all took place I like the little storytelling. It took place this summer right before my junior year. I went to a 2-week, it wasn't summer schooling, but it was like summer school. It was just a summer camp that one of my little cousins were going to, and since we go to summer camps together, it was suggested, I go with him. We're both new. So the first week we ended up gathering at a university in our city just to take, regular school classes like mathematics. I can't remember if there was social studies, but I do remember there was writing and reading and things like that. And the ultimate goal was to basically, we do the work, it's like summer school a little bit. We had to get like good grades or good scores in the class, and we get paid for it. Now that I'm older and thinking back, I feel like it was motivation to get mainly city kids, because it was all city kids. I was like the only county bounty in there. And I think it was just to get city kids motivated to doing schoolwork, going to school, things like that, especially since they were paying, for the kids to take these classes. So along the first week, I was pretty much quiet, because like I said, I was the new kid, the new girl, and I didn't really know too many people. And at the time, like, I didn't grow up in the city, so I don't know how to act city or hood or anything like that. And I felt like I had to fit in, but I didn't, so I kind of just stayed to myself the first week and just stayed quiet, just do my work. That's all I was there for, was really just to do the work. So by the second week, we ended up going to a completely different university out of like the city, same state, just a different city. And we stayed in the dorms. Now, I will say, this was actually like a cool little college life experience. Especially since, now that I'm older, I haven't even gone to college. So I didn't get that little dorm life experience. But I did get it when I was back in high school, which was pretty cool to live. Now, I have to rewind a little bit because there is maybe like an important key factor, maybe more, that I'm not thinking of at the moment, but there's an important key factor that I have to add to this story. So before I went off to this summer camp, for like the past couple years in high school, I had a huge crush. I don't know how many U's that you want to put in huge, but a huge crush on this one guy. And I was really saving myself for him because like I wanted him. Like I didn't want anybody else. I didn't really see too many people. Maybe I had like a crush here and there, but he was like the main person I wanted. And he was playing with me. I'm gonna keep it a buck. He was playing with my time, and it was just like, no, I'm not having that. So I had heard from a couple other friends who are already active. Now, I'm gonna just save the lessons for later. I was hearing from friends around the same age group who are already active, telling me like typically how they heard it. The person you lose your virginity to, you have a stronger and deeper connection than anybody else, because they just have a part of you that nobody else has. So I was thinking, okay, instead of saving myself for this one guy who is literally playing with my time, if I ended up giving my V card to somebody else, would my feelings transfer over? Because the connection would be quote unquote deeper or different from everybody else, since this new person has a piece of me that nobody else has. Now, hearing that out loud, hearing myself say that, it sounds absolutely crazy. But at the time, you gotta think, look, I was a teenager. I didn't know any better. I'm just hearing what other friends are saying, and like I was just gonna run with it. Oh my gosh, just hearing that out loud is just insane. What was I thinking? I don't know. I do know, but I don't know. It's just one of those moments. What I wanted to test it. So what if I did give my virginity to somebody else instead of saving myself for that one guy? Would my emotions transfer? Such a social experiment. I know. Yeah, don't get on your girl, okay? I was just uneducated on topics like that, so I was just listening to everybody else, and yeah, that got me into some trouble. Anyways, of course, one of the ground rules of this summer camp was no sexual interactions, no drug abuse, anything like that, no drug use, period. Anything in that general area, or you would be sent home and you will not get paid for any of the classes that you did. But if I'm gonna keep it a buck, it seems like a lot of these other teenagers, they've been doing the sexual acts for years. They were not new to this. I was just a new girl. So I guess I just hopped on the bandwagon of defiance. Now, bandwagoning ain't always the smartest idea. But again, your girl was uneducated. So here's the nitty gritty, the interesting part of the story, or one part of the interesting part of the story. I remember once, like, everybody had went to sleep. It was probably like 2-3 a.m. in the morning, something like that. Me and another girl that was in my dorm, because it was like 4 of us, me and her, we had snuck down to like the bottom floor, or at least the floor right below us, because you know, the girls, the boys, we were on two separate floors. So we snuck onto that floor, met up with the guys. She went in one room, I went in another. You know, we getting ready. I had a thing where I kind of knew not to trust guys with their phones, because in my school, even though I had a rule to not date or mess with anybody in my school, although I definitely broke it for maybe like 2 people, but that was like, it was supposed to be under wraps. It was all supposed to be under wraps. But since that was like a rule that I followed, I would just listen to other people in my school telling me there was this huge group chat that the guys had, and they were sending photos and videos of other girls, even girls from a different school. So me knowing that was happening in school, even though this was a summer camp, I basically brought that same rule over and was like, hey, I told him no phones. I put my phone off to the side. I put his phone off to the side, and we just gonna do what it do. I'm thinking things about to get jiggy. And immediately, he definitely slipped into the wrong hole. And I was astonished because I'm like, okay, he's telling me he has 7 other bodies. So he's experienced, but you slipped in the wrong hole right off the bat. I don't get it. Maybe it's because, I don't know. I can't even make an excuse. I think it was just because I'm shorter than him, or was shorter. I am short, period. So I think that's just what it was, and he wasn't used to a shorter girl. I don't know. I'm trying to give the dude the benefit of the doubt, but it was just terrible. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not trying to make it too graphic, but let's be real. The room ended up smelling like complete shit. Like literal shit. I'm talking about, you just ate a taco from Taco Bell and you're stuck on the toilet type of smell of shit. Oh my gosh. It was fucking horrendous. Even now talking about it, I'm still trying to wrap my brain around like, what the fuck? Like, oh my gosh. How are you gonna sit here and tell me you're experienced and you slip in the wrong hole and make the entire room smell like shit? Like, off the bat, you could just tell this a lame ass ninja, bro. I swear to God. We definitely did use protection. So when he came out of the first place that he had slipped into, and protection's still on, he slipped into the right place. Now, I'm gonna speak on that after I finish the rest of the story. But once he did that, things went a little bit more breezy. It was coolio. This is me editing hours later, and you know I'm lying hard as hell right now. Coolio my ass. I thought I was gonna be in that bitch screaming, oh my god, like, and no. It was just, yeah, a cool little breeze. So after we got done, me and that one girl who had came down with me, we both ended up going to our rooms. Immediately, I had to take a shower because I just could not get the smell of shit, literal shit, out of my nose. And the most embarrassing parts was probably like, I think I was trying to help him clean up or do something, and I had shit under my nails. Oh my gosh. It was horrible. I'm not gonna lie to you. My first time, absolutely horrible. I want to cry. Like, I want to cry. It was just terrible. And so, I went to go take a shower. Of course, in the shower, like, the girls ended up hearing me, like, fart. Because, like, he was in the wrong hole. Like, what do you expect? And they're calling me shitty butt and shit like this. And I'm just like, y'all don't even know. Y'all don't even fucking know. Like, oh my gosh, it's beyond shitty butt at this point. Like, it was horrible. So, by the next day, things was just, now that took place on a Monday, by the way. Like, literally the day that we got to those dorms, that happened that night. I don't know why I let dude smash the first fucking day, but don't. First one night stand type shit. Look, it was a social experiment. That's what we're gonna call it. But anyways, the next day, I ended up telling my little cousin who came with me. Because, like, I want to say just to, I guess, put more foundation to it. This little cousin of mine, he was, like, my best friend growing up. Like, literally, he was my first best friend. So, I felt like I could just tell him anything. Even though he was a couple years younger, we talked about just so much different shit, like, as kids. So I ended up telling him. He's like, way to go, alright, cool, you did it, you actually did it. I'm like, yeah, I actually did it. And I'm not gonna hold you, as everybody expected who's listening, No, those feelings did not fucking transfer. They didn't transfer. I felt disgusted. Like, I literally felt like shit. Like, I was just like, I really sat here and lost my IV card to a guy that I didn't even know his name. Like, I'm telling you, I only knew his nickname. That's it. Even to this day, I only really know that guy's nickname. I never really knew what his actual name was. Don't know anything about the dude either, like, if I'm being 100% real. So yeah, after the day after, it really dawned on me that was really a dumbass idea, and just a stupid mistake. But again, you live and you learn, so I'm not even really mad at it. I'm just mad he told me he was experienced and he slipped in the wrong hole. How do you do that? I don't understand. He was like, I just didn't have a flashlight. And I don't care. You can use your fingers. That's what you have fingers for. Like, bro, I'm not even gonna try to rehash it. So after that next day, I ended up telling my cousin, which was basically a Tuesday. Everything was cool. You know, we're still going to classes, still doing our schoolwork. The dorm life was still awesome. Like, going to the lunchroom and everything, sitting at the table. I think we were at the gym at some point as well. Just the whole dorm life in general was kind of cool. Up until fucking Thursday, which was the second to last day that we were going to be there, because we went home on Friday. Thursday, I think it was during some type of lunch or breakfast or something like that. I guess I embarrassed my cousin in front of a girl that he must have liked, or else he wouldn't have went to the extreme. And he ended up telling the camp counselors what had happened between me and the guy. And I'm like, are you fucking serious? But at first, I didn't know. So when the camp counselors, he told me he was going to go snitch. I thought he was lying, because I was just like, you're going to snitch because I embarrassed you a little bit? Well, maybe it was kind of, now that I'm older, it was a really big moment for him. But when I was younger, I'm just like, bro, it's just, I don't know. Anyways, he went and told. I didn't really know that they all knew at the time, but one of the camp counselors, one of the females, she came to me and she was like, hey, is there anything that you need to tell me or anything like that? Like, you cool? You good? I was like, yeah, I'm good. I'm fine. Like, I'm cool. I'm coolio. She was like, you sure there's nothing else you want to tell me, and this and that? I'm like, no, like, and in the back of my mind, I'm like, there's no fucking way possible that she knows what had went down on Monday. There's no way possible. But yeah, she did. But of course, I'm still denying it. No, there's nothing else that I did. And she was like, okay. Come to find out, I can't remember if this whole thing had happened Friday during class or if it was during class Thursday, but I do remember finding out they asked the guy, and the guy straight said yes, it happened. And I'm like, are you fucking dead ass? Like, I thought this was supposed to be under wraps. Yes, it wasn't under wraps by the time I told my cousin. I get that now, but I didn't know, like, it was supposed to be my cousin's word against ours, and we're older, so I'm thinking he's gonna be like, nah, we ain't do shit, y'all tripping, something like that, some city dude type answer, I don't know. And he was like, yeah, we did it. And I'm like, are you fucking dead ass? Like, it's like I be the one not trying to snitch, and then I get snitched on. And that has happened a couple of times. I have a few more stories about something like that, so just bear with me, stay tuned. Anyways, I'm like, okay, they already fucking know, we're basically in trouble, but I'm thinking we're gonna get sent home that night, but they were like, nah, we can't get sent home because we're going home Friday anyways, so it's no point. So I remember this last day was probably one of the worst days for me, especially in that experience, because I remember walking in the class and everybody, the camp counselors, the teacher, the students, everybody just looking at me, just staring at me. Like, it was either the face of disappointment or disgust. And I feel like it was honestly a mixture of both. That's what it felt like to me. I was disgusted with myself. And not only was I disgusted with myself, I felt disgusting. Like, just remembering the smell of that exact shit, I don't want to remember that. The fact that I have to correlate, or I mainly remember my first experience is correlated with fucking shit. Mind you, shit. Like, oh my gosh, I felt disgusted. I was disgusted, honestly. So, head instructors of the entire program, they ended up, before they called us in there, they were saying that they're going to call our parents and let our parents know what went down. Come to find out, while I'm calling my parent, and she's not picking up. Like, my caretaker was just not picking up. I guess they had already contacted her and everything like that. I had ended up finding out they never called his parent. He called his parent and let them know what happened. They called my parent. So I'm just going to say all my emotions, how I felt at the very end, before the lessons. But they ended up taking us both into a room together. And when I tell you this was the most uncomfortable throughout this entire situation, I wish I got a chance to talk to them as I got older about it, because years down the road I did apologize, but I never got to speak my voice on how I felt. But they were making things really uncomfortable, like asking questions, asking if we knew each other's names, if we knew each other, period. And, oh, now that we had sex, like, what's next? Are we gonna start dating? Or just really uncomfortable questions. And then they even forced us to introduce each other, or introduce ourselves to each other by first name. And I think they also made us shake hands. And it was just, like, really fucking uncomfortable. Really, really uncomfortable. Now, since I explained that part, I will say, so I don't have to put it at the end of this episode, I found it, now that I'm older, that was overstepping boundaries, honestly. Even though that they were adults, that's not the point. The point is, like, they were really overstepping boundaries, asking way too many questions, making us, I don't know if he was uncomfortable, but I was highly uncomfortable. And I wanted to cry even harder, like, right then and there. But obviously, like, I'm not gonna cry in front of them. But it just made me feel even more disgusting of a person. And, like, they were basically, oh, y'all only know each other by nickname, and are y'all gonna start date? Like, no, it was just invasion of privacy. And they overstepped a couple of lines that I don't agree with. But, moving along, once we got back from the trip and blood members had picked us up, it just went downhill in my eyes from there. I did end up talking to my caretaker, and we talked about it, and it seemed like, honestly, she was the only person who wasn't angry with me, or her and my older brother and sister, they were like the only, I don't know if they remember or heard or anything like that, but I just remember specifically talking to my caretaker, and she was the only person who wasn't mad at me. Like, she actually genuinely tried to understand and talk me through it and everything like that. I even had to tell her, like, hey, I don't know if I'm pregnant or not, but something down there feels wrong. Come to find out, I had my first STI, infection, not disease, an infection. And it was from him slipping in one place and then slipping in another, and instead of cleaning himself off first. So that was like a build of bacteria in there. I would say, ladies, that is very important. Always get yourself checked. Always make sure he's clean, slipping in the right place, or they're both right places, just depending on your preference. But, you know, just make sure he's clean, everything like that. Make sure he's checked, because, oh my gosh, that was a terrifying experience, especially since I was like, oh, am I pregnant? Like, something's wrong down there. I've never felt any of these feelings before. And being that age, I was scared of pregnancy. Be sure he gets checked. Back onto the storyline, all the rest of the blood members, they seemed very infuriated on everything that had happened. I want to start off first with the blood member who took me to the camp in the first place. She had told me that she did not condone the quote-unquote grown behavior that I took part in, which is very funny. I'm not going to say why, but that's just very hilarious to me. She was just like, she doesn't condone in that behavior. I'm assuming she just also didn't like the fact that I told her son, my little cousin, you know, because he was younger than me. So, and now that I'm older, I get that. I actually do get that. I didn't need to give him that information, but shit happens. I also remember visiting my grandmother and my mom, and when I tell you the look that my grandmother gave me, she looked like she wanted to strangle the fuck out of me. Like, she was about to lunge off that couch and strangle me. It was just like, everybody was just looking at it in a bad lighting. Oh, she lost her virginity and she's acting too grown, and just, it was just a lot, and it felt like they were just putting me down. Like, okay, when they do it, it's okay, but when I do it, it's a huge problem. Like, what? Teenager age, I feel like, is when a lot of us explore that, and it just felt like they were making me feel ashamed of something so natural. Like, will I recommend losing it at that age? No, but I'm not gonna sit here and direct people's lives. Like, shit happens. After all of that broke down and the rest of the blood members found out, it just became radio silent, and things got progressively worse over the year. Those are other stories that I can mention or speak on down the road, but yeah, it definitely did get progressively worse that year, before things got better. And then what's crazy about all of this, years later, that same blood member who said that she didn't condone in that grown behavior that I was doing and then completely went radio silent afterwards, she told me she didn't go radio silent, or the family didn't cut me off. My caretaker was the one who stopped everyone from talking to me, who basically blocked communication between me and everybody else. Honestly, I believe lies are lies, and the truth will speak for itself. So, yeah, leave it at that. Now, the lessons and how I felt. Number one, you don't have to listen to me, but I do not recommend losing your virginity to a stranger. By the way, speaking of that stranger, I ended up seeing him 3 years later. 3 times that 1 year I saw him. I saw him at some block party I went to, 2 block parties actually, and I ended up seeing him at a party that I guess was a mutual friend, because I don't even know how he knows the girl, but I knew her, or I know her currently, and he ended up being at one of her birthday parties, and I'm just like, oh my fucking gosh. I haven't seen him in 3 years. There's no possible way that's the same guy. And it was! Of course, I didn't really have much to say to him because I was still utterly disgusted on how you claim to be experienced and you definitely slipped in the wrong hole. That's a little flaky. But yeah, don't lose your virginity to a stranger. I'm talking to my young folk out there, even the older folk, because I do know there are some older folk who haven't lost their virginity. I know somebody who's like 20 and she's still a virgin, and tops off to her, seriously. Rules exist for a reason. I mean, I could have stayed out of trouble, but I guess teenagers just love defiance. That's just what they're about. That's what I was about, at least. And you don't have to tell your younger siblings or younger family members everything, especially if they're just not at a developed age. You can kind of keep it to yourself, or maybe not. If you want to tell them, go ahead. I'm not going to tell you. I'm not your mama. But I know from my experience, I got snitched on just for embarrassing him, I guess, for one little moment. So yeah, I wouldn't recommend it. Highly not. Also, fucking speak up. I wish I would have spoken up to those adults for making me feel uncomfortable. And I wish I would have had the voice to let them know, like, hey, you're overstepping a boundary with the questions that you're asking. Another thing I had realized over time is the way that I lost my virginity heavily impacted my later on sexual experiences, including one-night stands and so forth. And I realized I gave a piece of myself to all of these
different people who I feel like at the end of the day didn't deserve it or didn't even earn it.
That was one hell of an episode right there. Interesting. Definitely insight into my thinking process of shit. I don't know why me holding that social experiment was such a, I don't know. I'm not even mad at it. It's just, I guess, something it had to be done. If you liked this story or my experience, or even if you related to it, please let me know. You can contact any of my socials. Everything is TinySBK, actually. TikTok, Instagram, everything. So just let me know if y'all want to hear anything else, or if you related to a part, or just anything. I think I'm gonna finish it out calling y'all ETs. I finally came up with a name. I've been wanting to say ET or extraterrestrials for the longest, but somebody else's opinion got to me and I was like, never mind, but fuck it, because we are all extraterrestrial. So ETs it is. I hope you guys spread peace and love and have a good rest of your week. I hope this was just one hell of a fucking interesting ass story for you guys to listen to wherever you are. And peace out.